Hello, my name is Bonventure. Many people ask me, what is the meaning of the name Bonventure? They ask me, is it an African name? Is it a Christian name? Actually, other people take the name Bonventure for fun. Others even use it for comedy. But Bonventure is a serious name. When I think of the name Bonventure, I always thank my mother, Mama Felicitas Shihumbe. All her children, she gave them very special names. Each name had a specific meaning. Bonaventure, Ambrosius, Michael, Jacinta, all those names have deep Christian meaning. Today, I want to tell you the meaning and origin of the name Bonaventure. Long before he became known as the Seraphic Doctor, before popes sought his advice and kings considered him a friend, Bonaventure was simply a sick little boy named John. He was born around 1221 in the hill town of Bagnoregio, Italy, a beautiful medieval town perched on the cliffs that seemed to float above the valleys below. But his childhood nearly ended before it truly began. John became gravely ill, so ill that his mother believed she was watching her son die. Medicine in the 13th century could do very little. Doctors had exhausted their options. Desperate, she turned to someone whose reputation for holiness was spreading throughout Italy, Francis of Asisi. The humble saint prayed over the child. Then, according to the traditional account preserved by the Franciscans, Francis looked at the recovering boy and exclaimed, "Oh, Bonaventura, what a good fortune!" Whether he was celebrating the miracle or prophetically recognizing the child's future, no one knows for certain. But from that day forward, John became Bonaventure. It was a name that would one day echo across Europe. As Bonaventure grew older, something unusual became obvious. He wasn't merely intelligent. He possessed a rare combination almost never found in one person. His mind could grasp incredibly difficult ideas, while his heart remained remarkably gentle. Many brilliant scholars became proud. Many holy people avoid difficult intellectual questions. Bonaventure somehow became both. When he was 22 years old, he joined the Franciscan order, the community founded by Francis of Asisi himself only a few years earlier. The Franciscans valued poverty, humility, and serving others. Bonaventure embraced that life completely. His superiors quickly realized that they had someone extraordinary in their midst. They sent him to the University of Paris, the Harvard of the Middle Ages. If he wanted to become one of Europe's greatest scholars, this was where you came. There, Bonaventure studied under Alexander of Hales, one of Christianity's greatest theologians. When Alexander died, Bonaventure continued under John of Rechon, and it was in Paris that something remarkable happened. He met another young scholar, a quiet Dominican friar named Thomas Aquinas. Neither man knew it then, but together they would shape Christian theology for centuries. They came from different religious orders, different backgrounds, different personalities, yet instead of becoming rivals, they became close friends. Now listen to this. In an age where scholars often fought bitter intellectual battles, their friendship became legendary. Years later, both men were to receive the highest academic honor available, the degree of Doctor of Theology. There was only one question: who would receive it first? Interestingly, each insisted the other deserved the honor. Think about that for a moment. Two of the greatest minds in history arguing over who should receive recognition first. Eventually, Bonaventure stepped aside. He insisted Thomas Aquinas receive the degree first. not because Bonaventure thought less of himself, but because humility had become part of who he was. That was incredibly rare then. It's even rare today. His reputation spread quickly. Kings sought his counsel. Among them was King Louis IX of France, later canonized as Saint Louis. Imagine the scene. One of Europe's most powerful rulers seeking advice from a barefoot Franciscan friar who owned almost nothing. In the present generation, everybody is looking for power. But in this case, power recognized wisdom, and wisdom wasn't impressed by power. When Bonaventure was only 35 years old, the Franciscans elected him Minister General, the worldwide leader of the order. At first glance, this sounded like an incredible honor. In reality, he inherited a disaster. The Franciscan movement was tearing itself apart. Some believed absolute poverty should be observed with uncompromising strictness. Others believed the order needed practical flexibility if it was going to survive. Arguments grew bitter. Communities divided. The movement Francis had built out of love threatened to collapse because of internal conflict. Many leaders would have chosen sides. Bonaventure chose something harder. He listened. He reconciled. He reminded both sides why they had become Franciscans in the first place. Slowly, peace returned. Historians still credit his leadership with preserving the Franciscan order during one of the most dangerous periods in its history. Without Bonaventure, the movement might never have survived. During these years, he also wrote what became the definitive biography of Francis of Asisi. Not merely a collection of stories, but carefully organized portrait of the saint's life and spirituality. For generations, this became the standard account of Francis. He also helped oversee the translation of the relics of Anthony of Padua, another beloved Franciscan saint. Bonaventure wasn't simply preserving history, he was shaping it. Then came the day he perfectly captured who he really was. Pope Gregory X decided Bonaventure should become Cardinal and Bishop of Albano. There was just one problem. Bonaventure had absolutely no interest in becoming a prince of the church. According to one of the best-known traditions, papal messengers finally located him, not writing books, not giving lectures, not presiding over meetings, but washing dishes in a monastery. Just listen to that. Washing dishes in a monastery. When they announced the Pope's decision, he reportedly asked them to wait until he finished cleaning the plates before handing him the cardinal's red hat. Whether every detail unfolded exactly that way has been embellished over centuries, the story has endured because it captures something everyone knew Bonventure agreed upon. Titles never changed him. He believed no office, not even becoming a cardinal, excused someone from ordinary acts of service. Leadership began with humility. Ironically, this wasn't even the first prestigious position he tried to avoid. Earlier, Pope Clement IV had nominated him to become Archbishop of York in England. Most churchmen would have considered that the opportunity of a lifetime. Bonaventure begged not to be appointed. He wasn't chasing promotions. He wasn't climbing ladders. He genuinely believed serving faithfully mattered more than advancing personally. Eventually, Pope Gregory X overruled his reluctance and appointed him Cardinal Bishop of Albano anyway. Sometimes the people least interested in power are exactly the ones history entrusts with it. His greatest public assignment came in 1274. The church had been divided for centuries. The Eastern and the Western churches had grown apart after the Great Schism. Gregory X called the Second Council of Lyons to heal divisions, reform the church, and organize new efforts for peace. Bonaventure became one of its central figures, helping guide discussions and working tirelessly behind the scenes to build unity. Those who watched him noticed something remarkable. He wasn't trying to win arguments. He wasn't trying to win people. Then, without warning, his health failed. On July 15th, 1274, while still serving the council, Bonaventure died. Europe mourned. Even those who had disagreed with him respected him. Centuries later, he would be canonized as a saint and eventually declared a doctor of the church, one of the select group whose teaching has profoundly shaped Christian thought. His writings, especially The Journey of the Mind to God, continue to influence theologians, philosophers, and spiritual seekers around the world. But here is the part of Bonaventure's story that stays with me. History remembers emperors for the battles they fought, kings for the kingdoms they ruled, scholars for the books they wrote. Yet, one of the most enduring images of Bonaventure isn't of him wearing a cardinal's robes. It isn't of him teaching in Paris. It isn't of him advising popes. It's of a humble friar standing over a basin of dirty dishes while the pope's representatives patiently waited. Because Bonaventure understood something our world often forgets. Greatness isn't measured by how many people serve you. It's measured by whether success changes the way you serve others. Perhaps that is why, more than 700 years later, people still celebrate his feast day on every 15th of July. Not because he sought greatness, but because he spent his entire life trying to avoid it. And somehow, that was exactly what made him truly great. If you enjoyed this story and want more fascinating true stories about remarkable people from history whose lives sound almost too incredible to believe, be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment and let me know which forgotten historical figure you think deserves the next deep dive. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most extraordinary stories belong to the quietest people. My name is Bonventure, and this is Moving Pictures Kenya, connecting people, inspiring Africa.